It is the probably second, busiest election night of the year for the UK. And I have a cold. And I'm rather, yes, I'm very ill. So, welcome to election night 2024.
Import deposits, which we did in '68, had an effect upon the balance of payments, for instance, as opposed to credit restriction at home. But leave all that aside. I believe actually you could do all these things if you wanted to more in the community than you could in a free trade area. And you will give no real indication, no economic indication at all as to what you would do, except to say our position would be immensely powerful. We tell them what sort of arrangement they wanted, and they'd come begging us to do it. And I think this is, I just finished this, I think that is a very complacent view to take indeed. We sell 34% of our exports to the community, and they sell 8% of ours, of theirs to us. And I think the view, no doubt, we will have a certain interest in trading relations mutually, even if we came out. But the view that we are in an immensely strong position, and they would come begging to us, is a very complacent view indeed.
Are you saying that the government would have all the freedom it needed to control the British economy, to develop it, to strengthen it in the way that Mr. Benn feels it needs strengthening? Inside the market, you can do anything it wants.
I think that in practice, you can do almost anything that you want, and you can do as much as this as you can within a free trade area, accepting rules within such a free trade area.
Would there be any situation where you felt
I gave the specific example that the biggest restriction I've seen in practice, as opposed to rather theoretical hobgoblins, which are sometimes produced, occurred when we were members of EFTA and not when we were members of the community. But of course, what is of crucial importance, and here Tony Benn and I will certainly agree, is a level of investment in regions. And I think if we believe we've lost investment in the market, if we decided to go out, we'd have a much worse position so far as that is concerned.
But you see, the basic difficulty of their argument is that there is a price to pay in our own democratic control of our economic policy. And you are really denying that price exists. Now, I don't know what your current view on political federation is, but most of the really serious players, including in this category over a very long period, actually believe in economic and monetary union, in move towards political union, in a merging of control of our economy over a much wider range of policies. Now, to suggest that entering the market will make no real difference, I think gives a lack of credibility.
Right, I think that'll do it. Hello, good evening, everybody. How are you doing? How do you do? Welcome to election night of 2024 with myself, Ben Walker, from Britain Elects. Yeah, polls have just closed 4 minutes ago in 100 and something council areas across the country, not to mention a whole host of mayoral and counties, basically, where we are having police and crime commissioner elections. This is the 2024 UK local elections. I say UK because it's not just happening in England, it's also happening in Wales. You are having police and crime commissioner elections across the whole of Wales. Interestingly enough, there's no council by-elections I can see in Wales at all, which is not what I expected, to be honest with you. But anyway, we've got a lot to get through tonight. There are 2,000 wards, 2,700 seats up for grabs tonight, which, to be honest with you, is quite quiet. It's not that much. Last year we had 8,000 and something. And the year before that, it was about 4, 5, 6,000, I think. And yeah, this is actually quite quiet election-wise, but you know, we make do. Let me just turn the music down there. But thank you very much for joining us. If you want to join the discussion, if you want to be able to contribute your words with me, go to youtube.com/@BritainElects. You can see the stream here. Assuming you have a Google account, a YouTube account. Who doesn't? You'll be able to interact with the chat here today. We've got 3,000 and something people watching on Twitter and 47 of you watching on YouTube today. So thank you very much for joining us. Right, so local elections. This is big. It's the last major test before we get the general election. This is it. This is sort of the time in which there are no excuses now for underperformance or overperformance. This is it. So, quite a tough ask, I think, or rather, eyes are on the Labour Party to do as well as the polls expect now. There are no reasons otherwise, I think. You have mayoral elections, though, in which, such as the West Midlands and the Tees Valley, which, by the way, Tees Valley doesn't exist, it's Teesdale. You have elections there in which strong Conservative personalities may hold hold the Conservative, the ballot may keep it Conservative, basically. But we don't know yet. The polling indicates once you prompt for the candidates on the mayoral ballot, yes, they can. When you look at which party they would vote for in a general election, however, completely different kettle of fish. So anyway, let's get to it. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so on youtube.com/@BritNLX. There you can give me all of your abuse and all such things instead of on Twitter. I don't really check my mentions that much. Definitely don't check BritNLX mentions. So yeah, if you have any questions as well, yes, it will be there. Already, we're getting some questions in. The way election night with BritNLX works is this. I do almost, or try to do almost, as many ward results as possible. A council area, a small subset of Sunderland or parts of Brentwood in Essex or Basildon or Thurrock. That's interesting. Will Reform start winning council seats? Is Labour going to dominate in the areas it needs to dominate in? 3 years ago in 2021, Labour got absolutely annihilated in Hartlepool. The polls indicate that we're almost likely to see a reverse of that, and I'll be showing you that through maps as the night progresses. You are able to find a lot of these results. You'll be able to find the ward-by-ward results on twitter.com/BritNLX. I'll be posting them as I've done for the past 11 years now. And you'll be able to see the ward-by-ward map that we have made popular this election, or that last election, the year before that, and 2021. It is available this year as well. It is available on sotn.newstatesman.com. And once you scroll down there, you'll be able to see BritNLX, the results. Enjoy. No results yet, though. It's only 8 minutes past, and not even Sunderland counters are that good. Not even the Mackhams are that good, really. But anyway, so yeah, good. Luke Taylor says, good start for Tories. No losses so far. Very true. Damiano Guastella says, hello from Italy. What elections are there? So for the uninitiated, anyone just joining in, anyone just paying attention now, these are council elections, the bread and butter of local government. This is about raising council tax, one of the most unpopular taxes in the country. It's also about, what kind of party do you want governing your local area? And it is, contrary to what some people may say, it is a decent enough indicator as to how the country is feeling about their parties. Okay, so a good example, is if, for instance, you have a traditional battleground seat in a general election, such as Bolton or Bury or another bit of Lancashire like Burnley. They all begin with B. And in a general election, Labour needs that seat to get itself over the line to govern this country. Well, the best indication as to whether the vote there is healthy for Labour, i.e. people are already happy to go to Labour, is in council elections. It's a decent enough indicator. What else to pay attention to? Of course, you have the mayoral elections. You have a large mayoral beastly election in London. You have the mayoral election. You have the assembly election. And in some bits of London, you also have council by-elections. So some bits of London today, some Londoners rather, were going into the polling station and they had 3 ballot papers. Good for them, I suppose. Here in Chester, where I'm based today, we only had one election, which was for the Police and Crime Commissioner here. And the likelihood is, Police and Crime Commissioners, it's an elected institution introduced by the Conservative Liberal Democrat government in 2011. First elections in 2012. Turnout then was silly. It was like between 10 and 20%. And 2016 it rose to 25%. 2021 it rose to 28%, 30% almost, but still poorer than a normal council election for turnout. All right. But yeah, so some people are having 3 elections, some people are having 2, but at least in any corner of England and Wales, you will have at least 1 election to partake in. So, potentially a decent enough indicator. We're having new mayoral contests in the northeast of England, which is basically County Durham going all the way up to Berwick-upon-Tweed. Then you have, of course, the new mayoral seat called North Yorkshire and York, which should just be called North Yorkshire. What else do you have? Any new mayoral seats? There's probably 1 or 2 others. There's the East Midlands one, which is Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. This is the Conservative government's way of devolution that I think some of us may disagree with, but is a route forward to getting more power and money. And we're having the elections for them, so could be good. Right, anyway, so let's talk about the forecast. If many of you may have noticed, we at the stroke of 10, I put out a tweet telling you basically how many seats we expect the Conservatives to lose, Labour to gain, the Lib Dems to gain, and others. And let's just take a look at that. If you have any other questions, please do keep putting them in the YouTube. I'll get to them later. But anyway, let's focus on this. Not that. Let's focus on... Where is it? Here it is. I've worded it Tory tragedy. So... here's the thing about council elections. You have councillors, which are seats, and then you have wards. So some wards, rather, think of them as constituencies, have more than one seat in them. But I want you to focus on the seats for just a minute, okay? Because this is what we're expecting over the course of tonight and tomorrow. We're expecting the Conservatives to lose near 500 council seats compared to where they were a few short years ago. We're expecting Labour to pick up 273. We're expecting the Liberal Democrats to pick up 129. The Greens to gain 52. Note how small that is compared to their rather stunning breakthrough last year. And other parties to pick up around about 24. The thing to bear in mind about this year's elections is this. They are, like I say, only 2,700 seats up for grabs this year. Last year, it was 8,000 seats. It was a silly number of seats. And I remember doing the count, and I remember not getting it finished until about Monday or Tuesday, I think. I think I was still doing it by Tuesday, if not Wednesday. So this, to be honest with you, 2,700 seats, quite small fry. Nevertheless, the tragedy for the Conservatives is this. Last time, they were on an estimated 1,099 seats. Note, this is different to what you see on Wikipedia, because the way we count how many Conservative councillors are in this council when you are changing the boundaries. I've done my own modelling and thinking for that, which is different to the way Wikipedia does it. They just use, the slate of councils. They just use the slate of, how the council is composed. So, but anyway... last time, these seats were up for grabs, 1,099 Conservative councillors, 953 Labour, 391 Lib Dem, and 118 Green. Now we expect the Greens to pick up a few dozen to get to 170. We expect the Lib Dems to go up to 520, Labour to go up to 1,226, almost double the number of Conservative councillors we expect to win tonight, which is 621. Now, if you are quibbling over the accuracy of the seats that were last up, I'd recommend you look at the wards instead. Now, the wards, think of them as constituencies, and you see this. You have Labour leading, topping the poll in 760 wards last time these elections were held. So sorry. You have Labour leading in 760 wards last time these elections were held, compared to 732 for the Conservatives. You are almost, actually, is that actually it? Oh, it almost is, yeah. You have the number of Conservative wins, basically the number of times the Conservatives will top the poll in an area, falling from 732 to 373. They're losing near half of their wards, and note this too, the Lib Dems may equalise with them for the number of wards won in this series of elections. Now, what I want you to pay attention to, however, is this is what's up. So can we all see that? Yes, we can see that. So this is what's up this year, the local elections of 2024. It's not exactly representative of England, is it? It's quite varied. You have the whole of Dorset, the bits of Devon are Plymouth and Exeter, disproportionately Labour, as well as this council by-election here in Ashburton and Buckfastleigh. Yep, I've been called up on my pronunciation before. I'm not going to try again. In parts of the home counties, you have most of Surrey going to the polls. You have bits of Berkshire, Reading, Wokingham over here. If we move over to North Hertfordshire, you have Watford, St Albans, Welwyn Garden City, Harpenden, Stevenage, Hitchin. But you don't have Hertford. You do have Harlow in Essex, you do have Basildon, and you have many other places. And you do have these little bits of London that are having a mayoral election, are having an assembly election, and also have a council by-election. Note this one here, West Putney in Wandsworth. A slim Labour defence, 43% to 41% for Labour. Will they hold it? Well, the national polls suggest they will, but, funnier things have happened. So this is what's up across England today in council seat terms. And I want you to pay attention to these council seats because they are going to be a healthy indication as to what could happen in the general election. Will Labour strike gold and sweep areas such as Peterborough, such as Grimsby, such as Milton Keynes, such as Rugby, Nuneaton in the West Midlands over here? Will they mount a decent enough recovery in the Black Country? Because in 2021 they were absolutely decimated over here. Will they advance beyond the well-to-do suburbs of Manchester to the less than well-to-do suburbs of North Lancashire, outskirts of Burnley, the whole of Hyndburn, and Darwin and others? Will they do all this? We don't know yet. There are decent enough things to watch out for, but it's all, jury's still out. Polls have closed, but the ballots have yet to be counted. And here is Hartlepool. The last time all this was up was 2021. Look at this, Labour getting absolutely decimated in so many corners of the borough. But the thing to pay attention to is this. In England, we do this thing called electing by thirds. So take, for example, this ward, Burn Valley, which is just south of where the Labour candidate won their seat. This is 3 councillors represent this area. 3 councillors represent these, two dozen streets, 3 dozen streets, I suppose. And in 2021, which is when these seats are up for grabs, it went Conservative. But notice here, in 2022, it went Labour, and in 2023, it also went Labour. So the likelihood here is that you can probably expect the Labour candidate, whoever he or she is, to pick up the seat. Also, same in Headland and Harbour. 2021, which is up for grabs tonight, Conservative. 2022, it went independent, or rather to an independent group. There's a strong independent grouping in Hartlepool. And in 2023, though, it went Labour. What is going to happen here tonight? That's what we're going to pay attention to. Sunderland as well saw a big collapse in support for the Labour Party in 2021. You saw the Tories break through in places like these bits on the outskirts of Sunderland and the more, so I would say, suburban areas, if you want to call it that. And the Lib Dems were also striking gold. Look at this, Sandhill. I remember the council by-election here in 2016-17. And look at that. You've seen a seat that was voting Labour consistently, even before, what you're seeing here tonight. And it was voting Labour in 2015 and 16. The Lib Dems won it in a council by-election, and they've made it solidly Liberal Democrat since. And they've done that to other parts of Sunderland, but not all. Note this one, almost in the central ward of Hendon. You have the Lib Dems winning this in 2021, but Labour won it in 22. What's going to happen in 2024? We don't know yet, do we? Millfield, same as well. Are we going to see any sort of return in Labour? I don't think so, but keep an eye on that. We also have new boundaries for certain councils in the area. So here we have North Tyneside, which you'll notice when I click on them doesn't give you the results. You compare it with Newcastle. If you go over here, you'll be able to see the results. But in North Tyneside, you're not seeing the results. And the reason for that is because these are new boundaries. All I can tell you is how this seat probably voted in previous elections. So Tynemouth proper, or Tynemouth proper, has been voting in Conservative councillors. We don't know how much, we don't know by how much, but let's see how that votes later on over the course of the evening. So, these seats were last up in 2021, or at least 2/3 of them. Okay, the rest of them have either gone through boundary changes, have gone through other elections. The cycle does get broken sometimes, but nevertheless, take Trafford, for example. We're comparing this election with 2023. So in 2023, you had 3 councillors elected in this ward, and the 3rd place candidate is going to the polls today, or has gone to the polls today. Right, so the 2024 local elections, this is as I say, the last series of elections before we get to the general election. It is sort of the time in which we should be seeing, if the polls are to be believed, the opposition advancing. We should expect to see the Conservatives to lose upwards of 500 seats or around there. Labour advances 273. Note how it's not the same as the Tory fall. The reason for this is that in local elections, there are more varied fights than there are in general elections. In local elections, there are more Labour v Con fights than there otherwise would be in a general election. You also have Green versus Lib Dem And in other bits of the country, you have Green versus, where could I prove this? Green versus Conservative here in places like Winchester in the Meon Valley. Okay, same here in Stroud. You know, the challenger here, once upon a time, these outskirts of Stroud were voting in Conservative councillors. Now they vote in Green. And where do you think those Labour voters go? Well, they go for the Green candidate. That's what we're going to be seeing more and more of in council elections. Whether that seeps through to a breaking of the system in general elections is yet to be seen. But we've had the Lib Dems. We temporarily had UKIP. Are we really expecting anything? Is anything new coming? Well, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it, have we? Bristol is one to watch for this election if you are keen to see the potential seepage of votes from Labour to the Greens. The Greens had a really good election year here in 2021. Let's not forget 2021. Can I show you the chart? Here we go. So in 2021, when these elections were last held, you had the Labour Party virtually 10 points behind the Conservatives. They were also 9 points. Keir Starmer was also 9 points behind the Prime Minister, and he was -1 on approval. And his party was -18 points behind the Conservatives on the economy. That's pretty important, right? If you don't lead on the economy, you have no chance of governing this country, because when it comes to it, whatever issue that dominates the day, if you don't lead on the country, you will never, ever lead the country, okay? So that was the background to what got us elections like these in Bristol. The Labour vote was pretty depressed. The Conservatives were enjoying a sort of vaccine bounce. Their Brexit deal had also earned them some votes, and so the Labour base wasn't exactly turning out. Nevertheless, they did score some gains, but not many, and suffered some quite sizable losses to the Greens in these parts of Bristol. Bristol Central, you can see that this was Labour in 2016, went Green in 2021. The Greens have always had some strength in the Clifton Village, the rather well-to-do bits of the university part of town. But their breakthroughs over here, into Lockleys, into Easton, and their competition in a place like Eastville is new, and it's either a sign of a Labour vote getting quite depressed and so going further afield, or it could also be a sign of the Greens picking up a lot of Conservative and Lib Dem votes to beat Labour. Because in Green v Lab seats, Conservative voters are a little bit more inclined to plump for the Green candidate than they are for Labour. The appeal of the Green brand means that in a lot of rural areas, we've already talked about Stroud, but a lot of rural areas out on the outskirts of Norwich, in Suffolk over here, you have Green candidates picking up a lot of Labour voters and Conservative voters to just strike through and score gold. And I think we're going to see a lot of that later tonight. Dorset is a big beast of a council. This is used to be a county council, then it just became a unitary authority. Lib Dems are bullish here. They are hoping to score some big gains. We don't know by how much. We just know they may pip the Conservatives for the majority, if not plurality, of the seats up here tonight in Dorset. And if they win in a place like Dorset, which by the way voted Leave in the referendum of 2016, what does that say for a lot of Conservative MPs in the southern parts of Britain, which also voted Leave, that were had fallen out of love with the Lib Dems 2010-15, went to UKIP in 15, voted Leave in 16, returned, or rather, took the plunge with the Conservatives in 19 or 17 and 19. What does that say for a lot of those seats? That they're suddenly a lot more competitive now, and I think they should be a little bit more worried. Take this as well. For example, you have whole swathes of Surrey, Mull Valley here, voting in Lib Dem candidates. And likewise, in North Hertfordshire, St Albans. And is this Watford? Yeah, in Watford as well. Tight fights here, some of them at least, between the Lib Dems and Labour. Wonder how that's going to turn out later tonight. See, look at this one. Legate's ward in Watford. It went Conservative in 2021, which is what's up tonight. It went Lib Dem in 22. And Labour in 23. How's that going to turn out? And look at the split here. Con 37, Lib Dem 35, Labour 26. Do you really think Labour can take that? On those numbers, doesn't seem it, but when you look at the history, well, I think it does, doesn't it? What else we got? Welwyn Garden City, Grant Shapps' seat. Yeah, we were expecting some pretty sizable Labour and Lib Dem gains here. Will the Conservatives be able to hold on? We do not know. In terms of gossip I've been hearing tonight, Portsmouth. Portsmouth is seeing, or rather, the indication in Portsmouth is that the Conservatives are in serious trouble. The likelihood, or something that is being floated by both Conservatives and Liberal Democrat and Labour sources, is that the Conservatives may be wiped out on the island here tonight. So they may lose this seat, Eastney and Craneswater. They may lose Hillsea. They may lose Copnor. They may lose Hillsea as well. Is that Hillsea? Yeah. So they may lose all the wards you see on the island of Portsmouth, okay, to Labour and the Liberal Democrats, which will be quite a bit of trouble for Penny Mordaunt and her re-election chances. Because if the polls are to be believed, the Labour Party are going to score some quite sizable gains. A landslide would be likely. And who would you be staying up for? Would you be staying up for Jacob Rees-Mogg in his new North East Somerset and Hanham seat, which the polls indicate he will be in trouble in? Would it be Penny Mordaunt in Portsmouth North, or who else? Who else could it be? But yeah. Swindon, another one to keep an eye on if you wanted to track those Con Lab fights. Swindon was one of those marginals that Labour under Ed Miliband was desperate to retake, and they didn't in 2015. In fact, the vote went against them in 2015. Some of their vote went UKIP, and it was really the Conservatives who picked up a lot of that Lib Dem support. And Labour hasn't really demonstrated a serious comeback in Swindon for quite some time, with the exception of, well, the past 2 years, I suppose. We go around bits of Swindon here. You look at this one here, St Andrews. These little estates here, Blunsdon, St Andrew. First time it went Labour last year, and this time in 2021, it was Conservative 56%, Labour 25%. The likelihood is that will be a Labour gain. But when you consider that, seats that went 56% Conservative, 25% Labour, if they're going to fall to the Labour Party, what does that say about other seats in the rest of the country? We go to Milton Keynes as well, which has a sizable Lib Dem representation, as you can see, but it seems as though Labour will expect to be the bigger beneficiaries of tonight. Look at this ward here. Bit of a traditional, quite a tight fight here. This was Conservative 46%, Labour 42%. It went Labour last year and the year before, but it went Conservative in 2021 and 2019. Will that go Labour again? Let's find out. Newport Pagnell went Lib Dem. It went Conservative in 2021, as did Newport Pagnell North, but Newport Pagnell South went Lib Dem last year and the year before. Will that happen again? Probably. And here's one that I think was it's fair to say this was one of the biggest swings of last year, Olney Ward, which is very much rural Buckinghamshire, near Bedfordshire and Northamptonshire here. This was Conservative 60%, Labour 26% last year. It went Labour last year. So let me just say that again. It went Conservative 60%, Labour 26% in 2021. It voted Conservative in 22, and it's been voting Conservative many years before that. It went Labour last year. That's quite a dramatic swing. Will we see that again? Let's find out. One thing to keep an eye on in terms of Labour underperformance, Grimsby. Not a lot of these have been voting in Labour candidates for quite some time. So Park Ward here on the outskirts of Grimsby, you're not really seeing much of a Labour recovery. Yarborough Ward. In 2021, it was Conservative 58%, Labour 29%. You would think if Labour can win in much tougher fights in Milton Keynes, surely they can walk it here. But they're not. They didn't win this seat in 2022, and in 2023, an independent struck gold here. Freshney Ward as well. This was voting Labour in 2015 when they held it off against the Conservatives and UKIP. It voted Labour again in 2016, but in 2022 and 23 and 23, it went independent. What is going on with the Labour vote in a place like Grimsby? Also, Kingston upon Hull, or just Hull for anyone from Hull. The Lib Dems are gunning to maybe take control of this council, or at least expand their number of council seats. But where? Maybe they'll pick up the University Ward, That could be interesting. Where else? Maybe they'll pick up the outskirts of the east side of Hull. We don't really know. That could be very exciting to watch indeed. If you want to talk about recovery, sorry. If you want to talk about where Labour needs to be demonstrating, serious gains, the Rother Valley is it. So in Rotherham, the council elections there saw some pretty stark swings against Labour. They got absolutely annihilated in places like here, in Fircroft, Wickersley South, Sitwell, which, this was voting in UKIP councillors many years ago, and rarely saw, representation by the Conservatives until 2021. If we want to see some serious Labour advancement, we've got to see them win or win back in places like the Rother Valley. If they're not, there are questions. There are things to, pay some heed to. We also need to see Labour winning in places like Penistone. Even if it's Lib Dem, we need to also see them try there. They did win Penistone East, which is basically more so just the villages. Even in rural South Yorkshire votes in Labour candidates more than, rural parts of other counties in England. And Stocksbridge as well. This was voting in UKIP councils as late as 2016. It then swung back to the Conservatives in 18 and 19, swung to the Conservatives in 2021, and then became Labour once more. The likelihood here is a Labour regain. We also need to see Labour doing particularly well on the outskirts of Wakefield. This is how Wakefield voted in 2021. This is where the Labour strength was, in places like here. But you notice that in some areas, since then, Labour have either recovered or scored some decent enough gains. Let's see if that happens again. Even in Ossett Ward, which was probably the only part of Wakefield to stand against Labour in the by-election of 2022, Labour picked it up in 2023. So, lots to pay attention to, and we're going to probably be having the first council ward results to pay attention to when the results start to come in. We're expecting the first council seats to come in, could be in the next half an hour, or if we haven't got any just yet. Blackpool is expected to come around about between 2 and 4 a.m. The low turnout should speed that count up, but if anyone is telling me otherwise, I can't wait. But anyway, let's focus on some of these. I'm in the right place there. So yeah, you can see the chat. Yes, I'm reading chat now. As you might be able to tell based on my voice, I'm very ill. So yeah, time of my life. So any questions? Have you missed Norwich? Yeah, the Greens could do well in Norwich, but they've done well in Norwich before. Actually, you want to talk about one thing about the Corbyn years that was particularly good for Labour outside of the snap election of 2017, sorry. And Norwich is one such place. So, look at this. Here's one ward here, Nelson Ward in Norwich, okay? So we're looking, you've got your city centre and you're just looking a little bit to the west of it, which is Nelson Ward represented here on the map in Higham Grove. In 2016 and 18, it voted Labour, which was a complete, unexpected. I think the Greens actually went back in Norwich during the Corbyn years, and since then they've very much recovered. Do we have any other instances that we can talk to here? Same, Mancroft Ward, the centre of Norwich. Is that Norwich North or Norwich South? Because Norwich North is really quite the super northern bit of the city. Again, they elected Labour councillors in 2016 and 18, started going elsewhere in 19, and they've been staying solidly green since. Can you attribute that to the Corbyn years? I don't know, actually, but I'm minded to think yes. So Norwich, it seems, could we be seeing green gains? Wensum Ward here has history for the Greens. This went 47% Labour, 28% Green in 2021. And the Greens picked it up again in 2023. Mile Cross Ward doesn't seem it. Wensum, we've already done that. Yeah. Maybe we could see some green gains here. Maybe the Lib Dems will be in with a sniff, but that seems more like a fluke, seeing as the Lib Dems are at the bottom of the pile here. Another one, Town Close, which went green in 2015 and has since been solidly Labour. Interesting. Wonder how that's going to turn out. So, chat. Hello, chat. What is this website? You can go to sotn.newstatesman.com. You have a little look at that, and you just scroll down a little bit and you'll find the results page. What you're looking at there is how the wards up, the seats up this time round, voted last time round. And when you go into the page, and shall I just pull it up for you here now? Sorry, I'm definitely ill, which is getting a bit very annoying. So if you go to sotn.newstatesman.com, you see, of course, what the latest polls say, and it's currently, 44% Labour to 25% Conservative. The likelihood is Labour will end up on around 400 seats. And you scroll down here, Britain elects the 2024 local election results. You go to here, scroll down a little bit, and you find, I think that's Canada. Yeah, there's Canada. Oh, that's the United States. Lovely. But that's because there are no results there. What you can see are previous results. And you go here, you scroll down, you read my guff, which I hope you do, and you'll be able to see how these council seats voted at the last election. Okay? You zoom in, and you'll be able to look at it in a slightly different way to the way I've just done it, but that was for ease of presentation for the stream. So these are the council seats up for grabs tonight, and there's a fair chunk of them. They will give you a decent indication as to what's happening in the marginals, in the battlegrounds, but note, of course, they're not all of England. They're none of Wales. But nevertheless, it really is telling to see what happens in the Black Country and Milton Keynes and, the outskirts of London, north of London, talking Stevenage, Welwyn Garden City and others. If we're not seeing Labour advance as much as they need to in places like that, then you've got to pour doubt on the validity of a Labour landslide. Peterborough as well. Look at that. That does not look like a Labour Party on its way. That does not look like the Labour Party on course for a landslide, does it? They need to sustain themselves. They need to show some solid gains. Traditionally, I'm told that the Conservatives do better in council elections than they do in general elections here, but nevertheless, we need to be seeing some sort of rebellion against the Conservative government if indeed there is such a rebellion, or so rebellious that it results in decent Labour gains. Lincoln as well. The likelihood is that the Conservatives may lose almost all of the seats they're defending here tonight. So Minster Ward, which is North Lincoln, it voted Labour last year and the year before. Likelihood is it will do so again. What about here in Birchwood? Yes, also it voted Labour last year. Voted Labour last year. Voted Labour last year. So maybe the Conservatives will be reduced just to this ward with them. Who knows? Who knows? We'll find out as the night progresses. So yeah, plenty of things to... That's the wrong one. Lots to do here. So, how do things look in Blackpool? That's a good question. I have a forecast that I've done or did in 2020 a few months back, and I don't see any reason to for it to change. Let me just show you it now. Here we go. Here's how Blackpool will probably vote later tonight. Labour 50%, up from 38% in 2019. Conservative 30%, down from 50% in 2019. And Reform on 14%, up from the Brexit Party's performance, which was 6%. So some pretty sizable changes there, but note only the 12-point increase in the Labour share and the 20-point fall in the Conservative share. That's interesting, I think at least. What else? Wrong one. There it is. Tories have a small chance to win the election, in my opinion, says hello there. I don't think they have much chance, if any. I think really it is over for them. But anyway, if you have any questions, put them in the chat now. I'm going to give them pay attention to. Those borders look a bit gerrymandered, or is that just me? We don't gerrymander in this country. The way the boundaries in this country are drawn is not by, a political body or a politicised body, I rather edit. It is drawn by an independent bunch of boundary commissioners, and they account for quotas. Every seat has to be this size and does need to take into consideration, things like, geographical common sense. And you know what? Sometimes it does, but sometimes it absolutely does not. That's because the quotas exist. So a seat can be between, a parliamentary constituency for the House of Commons needs to be between, 65, or is it, it's now 75 to 85,000 I think that's too tight, because the building blocks we use to build those seats are the wards you were just looking at earlier, the wards you were just calling gerrymandered wards, okay? And some of those wards are like 20 to 30,000 people big. Makes no sense in my view, and I think either we should loosen the quotas and stop using wards as the building blocks, because we get some absolutely stupid, ridiculous seats, such as we do here in Chester. My city of Chester is 80,000 people big and would make a nice constituency in its own right, but it's been split down the middle, Chester North and Chester South, because all the other seats surrounding us need to fill the quota, which is very annoying. Anyway, I'm going to have a look at that. But why are some of those areas saying con defence, but they voted Labour last time? So, James Corcoran asked this. Why are some of those areas that I was pointing out, why did they say Labour defence when it voted Labour last time? Because in some of these areas, and we'll take Wetherby, for example, which is not far from where I was born, or rather baptised. Last year, it voted in a Green councillor. Now, Wetherby Ward is, what's it like? It's like 15,000 people here. And most councillors represent, on average, you get a councillor for every 4,000 people. But this ward is 15,000 people. So what do you get? You get 3 councillors. So what happens is you elect them by thirds. The election up today is 2021's election. And 2021's election was the Conservative councillor winning. In 2022, it also voted Conservative, and in 2023, it voted Green. But the Green winner, the Green councillor that won, is not up for election this year. The Conservative candidate from 2021 is. They've served a term of 3 years. It was meant to be 4 years because of COVID, but no, it was meant to be 4 years, but because of COVID, it's become 3. Okay, it's the same for the mayoral race in Greater Manchester and London and the Liverpool City region. What else we got? How do you rate the chances of independence in Newcastle? There is some alignment between Jamie Driscoll, the independent candidate in my ward, and the PCC. So, let me just focus on giving myself a bit of a breather. Jamie Driscoll, for the unawares, is the initially elected Labour mayor of what was then the North of Tyne mayoralty. So it was all the authorities, local authorities, north of the River Tyne, and that went from basically Newcastle all the way up to Berwick upon Tweed. Now it's been redrawn to County Durham, all the way up to Berwick upon Tweed. And the North of Tyne mayor, Jamie Driscoll, left the Labour Party, or rather got kicked out of the Labour Party over some things, Google them, and is deciding to stand as independent. He's running to the left of Labour. He's very pro-ceasefire. He's very, very openly pro-Palestine. And yes, he's running very much to the left of Labour. We have one more in common poll. The pollster is called More in Common, which finds Driscoll may be in contention to win this seat. The poll is basically Labour's Kim McGuinness on 40%, Jamie Driscoll on 36%, he may be in for a chance. My fear, though, is that in polls like these, you are overstating. Sorry, the Driscoll supporters are too online, very social media heavy. And when I went to the Cambridge Literary Festival, and I was talking with Grace Blakely was on the panel with the New Statesman panel, and did say that the way Driscoll was campaigning was very online, very social media heavy. And the fear is, when you look at polls, if you have a candidate that is very social media heavy, when it comes to online polls, those respondents get oversampled. So that poll we saw for More in Common showing Jamie Driscoll behind by about 4 points may have a bit too many Driscoll supporters. We'll find out as the night progresses. In terms of independence, Newcastle does have, or rather, let's just have a look at it. Newcastle and, is it Gateshead? No. Newcastle does have its fair share of independent groupings. Let's see if they pick up any more. The Lib Dems have always had strength here, but it's never really translated into a general election performance. It's very interesting, that. Anyway, why are we not on Twitch anymore? Basically, the people I use Restream only gives me 2 options, and I have I have to choose between Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, and it's very got to make my choices, haven't I? What do you think the likely outcome for Dorset is, and what did Portland vote last time? Dorset is one of those councils, big beast councils, became a unitary authority, and saw heavy Conservative losses in 2019 against pretty sizable Lib Dem increases. It seems as though maybe in a place like here, you look at this ward, tight fight. Conservative 38 to Labour to Lib Dem 37. What about this one? Bit harder for the Lib Dems to mount a comeback. Another one, Thurn down north. Ooh, a sizable UKIP vote there. 22%. I think it's fair to say that we should expect to see the Lib Dems on a bit of an upsurge here in Dorset. Whether they take control of the council, well, we don't know. Where's Portland here? Isn't this Portland? Yeah, that's Portland. The way Portland voted last time, it was independent 32%, Labour 27%. Labour's strength really is, in this council at least, reserved only for Weymouth and Portland, or Weymouth and Portland. I don't know how it's pronounced. But, yeah. Oh my God, I'm getting very ill if I talk too much. Do you think Labour will be punished in pro-ceasefire areas like South Manchester? The problem is there aren't enough white voters who care about Israel-Palestine enough to make it their primary vote. When most people go to the polling stations, they're going with the economy in the minds, they're going with the cost of living in mind, and other issues are more mood music. So Israel-Palestine is a mood music issue to them, probably pisses them off, probably maybe depress some people from not turning out, but it's not changing enough people's views in enough areas to make it a sizable enough issue. In other areas, however, such as the very, very Muslim-heavy areas in which polling shows Israel-Gaza really does sit high up the agenda, maybe we could see a bit of a backlash tonight. How George Galloway's candidates perform in Rochdale is going to be very, very interesting indeed. So sorry. Did I stand this year? No. So, declaration of interest. I should always make this before I do my streams. I do apologise. Oh no. Bias again. I am a Labour councillor. Declaration of interest. My name is Ben Walker. I am the co-founder of Britain Elects. I'm a data journalist for the New Statesman, and I'm also, God forbid, an elected borough councillor for Chester's city centre and the Garden Quarter, of which I stood under the Labour Party banner. So I am a Labour councillor, but I would always ask you to judge me based on what I say. The proof is always in the pudding. What do I say? What do I write? I have my own prejudices. Who doesn't? But to be honest with you, I think I've been fair and pretty reasonable for the past 11 years. And the fact I'm a Labour councillor, I don't think changes that. Nevertheless, I stood last year. I won with my 2 other colleagues because it's a multi-member ward. And yeah, I enjoyed it. How long are we streaming tonight? Always much better coverage here than mainstream coverage. Problem is, I've got to get preparing for the council seats that are coming in. So I've got to go out and find something soon. And I'll probably sign off in about 5 or 10 minutes, to be honest with you. But let me just answer some questions quite quickly. What's going to happen in Havant? Yeah, so you got Portsmouth, big trouble for the Conservatives here. The expectation, the gossip on the ground is that they're going to be wiped out on the island. Havant as well, which is having new boundaries, okay? New boundaries here. And how they voted last time, it was Labour in Hayling West, Lib Dem in Hayling East. Maybe you'll see some Conservative losses here in Havant proper. Waterlooville, though, I note, stood firm for the Conservatives last year before the boundary changes, which you can't see here. This, of course, is Suella Braverman's seat. Yeah. What do I think of Nuneaton and Bedworth? Nuneaton and Bedworth is one of those seats, boroughs, council areas that, the Conservatives got absolutely annihilated in. The Labour Party got absolutely annihilated in all those years ago. Another one of those seats, Miliband's Labour were desperate to retake, and they absolutely failed. And they've been failing since then. Under Corbyn and under Starmer, they've really struggled. We have new boundaries here, and you can see Nuneaton and Bedworth almost overwhelmingly Conservative, with 2 green wards. I expect we'll see a bit of a Labour recovery, absolutely necessary if we want to be sure of a Labour landslide. So yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, You heard in a TLDR video that Brentwood is a seat the Conservatives could lose to the Lib Dems. Yeah, so Brentwood is one of those, as you can see here, well, it's because there's already Lib Dem strength. The Lib Dems really just need to advance a little bit more in these parts, Hutton and the outskirts, to just be sure of a majority of the council, because it's good to win in Brentwood. You know, it's fine to win in Brentwood, but that's not enough. Brentwood isn't enough to win. Anyway, what percentage of the population are able to vote? How are they restricting? How now they are restricting? What percentage of the population can vote? Well, you've got 9% of London, plus about what's that? 3%, 50. Yeah. You probably got. Well, how about this? All of England and Wales can vote in police and crime commissioner. Almost all of England. Oh, sorry, let me say that again. Almost every corner of England and Wales. No, every corner of England and Wales has an election. Okay? Every corner. In Wales, which you see is very grey here, it is going to be police and crime commissioner elections. In my area of Chester, it is the police and crime commissioner. In this little bit of Ellesmere Port, it's the police and crime commissioner and a council by-election for the ward of Wolverham. Look at that, Labour 80%. Don't think it'll be that this time. In other parts of West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, Lancashire, you have mayoral elections, PCC elections, and these council elections that we're talking about. So what's that? You have 89% of the country will have a vote this year. How many of them will use it? Well, I'd say about 20%, really, because not many people are voting in a PCC election. So there's that. Predictions for Bristol, it could be very tough for Labour. Green advances could cost them a few seats. Maybe the Greens will get a majority. We don't really know, because there's also a theory that the Greens have peaked in Bristol. What is their appeal? Maybe they've already topped it there. Maybe Labour gains from the Conservatives will see them. Labour gains from Conservatives will see them hold off a Green surge, but we don't know. There is the one theory. There are multiple theories. Maybe there are the people who vote Labour, the people who voted Labour in 2021, are the types of people who would still be willing to countenance voting Green. And if that is the case, then the Green ceiling is a lot higher than any of us can really say. But if the Greens have already taken those votes, well, maybe they don't really have much of a way forward going forwards. Maybe they won't get the majority. We don't know. It could go either way, to be honest with you here. I don't think anyone's properly surveyed Green voters in this country. We're a lot more obsessed with UKIP voters, haven't we? Other questions. What time are we expecting the first results? Well, could be any minute now, which is why I need to think about... got lots of stuff. Maybe I need to think about finishing. What's your dark horse council result that you think will surprise everybody? Ooh, what could surprise everybody? I'm not sure, actually. Basildon? No, I don't think that'll be exciting at all. I don't think that'll be exciting. Maybe Labour could... No. Is there a dark horse? How about this? Oxfordshire. Around the surround... Sorry, I'm just burping as well. The surrounds of Chipping Norton, the surrounds of Witney, the surrounds of basically Oxfordshire. The Oxfordshire that was David Cameron's seat. I think you could see Labour topping the poll there, which would be a bit of a surprise, or even the Lib Dems. Another surprise could be Stroud. Maybe the Greens could really sweep through there. Maybe the Greens could top it there. I'm not sure. Another surprise. Sorry, I keep thinking of council elections. Let's talk about the other ones, the mayoral elections. North Yorkshire and York. There is one poll out, admittedly by Labour Together, but apparently conducted under British polling council rules, which shows Labour is ahead in North Yorkshire, which doesn't not often happen. It never happens. It's never happened in our lifetimes. It's never happened in the life of the Labour Party. The idea of the Labour Party topping the poll in North Yorkshire, the only Yorkshire that reliably votes Conservative, is a bit of a shock. It's a mayoral election. You'll probably see a lot of Lib Dem voters in places like Harrogate and Richmondshire and Craven, going Labour, but my God, that would be a surprise. That would be a real big surprise. But one poll suggests maybe. What we got? Where do you think the Tory vote will hold up the most? I think Grimsby. I think Grimsby could be one to watch for where the Tory vote could hold up, because I don't think the Labour Party is doing enough there. What we got? Greens are benefiting in Bradford with their pro-ceasefire stance. Well, let's see. Let's see if the results bear that out soon. Has Khan got it in the bag? He's probably more ahead than not. I think he probably does have it in the bag, but I don't think it's it's an overwhelming victory. What needs to be remembered about Sadiq Khan is he is the mayor of a part of the country that is very pro-Labour, that votes 50% plus Labour in general elections, or will do at the next one, and yet his own favourables, his own popularity is pretty poor. He's whilst Labour is polling 51% in London, he's on 40%, and his approval is on 32%. Which is pretty poor, okay? He's a bit of a drag on the Labour vote there. You are seeing in some polls a lot of the Labour base unwilling to come out for him, but very much happy to come out for the Labour Party when the general election comes, okay? Something to bear in mind there. Probably got it in the bag, but I wouldn't be surprised if the result was closer. Well, we see the Lib Dems getting in the south but losing seats in the north, e.g. Hull. Well, the Lib Dem appeal is not just one entity. It's not one entity. It's 100,000 entities. It's different entities in different parts of the country. The appeal of the Lib Dems is a bulwark against the Labour Party in Hull. It's a lot more. Is it more anti-housing or is it more pro-housing? I wonder. It depends. Who are the NIMBYs in Hull? I don't know. But it's a different kettle of fish. The Lib Dems, if you got the Lib Dems in, say, Surrey, up with the Lib Dems in Hull, you'll find that quite different. Or rather, do they have different politics? Don't know. That'll be actually something to ask them. But yeah, so I can't really answer that, to be honest with you. Why are the Conservatives so strong in Broxbourne? It's pretty well. It voted Leave, didn't it? It's all one UKIP councillor. Don't know. It's rural Hertfordshire, isn't it? But yeah. So right, with that in mind, shall we get to a few pointers? Mayoral elections in the West Midlands. The mayoral polling expects it's a tight fight between the Conservatives and Labour. 40% to the Conservatives, 40% to the Conservative candidate Andy Street, and 40% to the Labour candidate Richard Parker. But if a general election was held now, using my Britain Predicts model output, you would find Labour getting 54% of the vote to 25% for the Conservatives. Okay? And this is why when I look at mayoral polling, I think, I'm not sure I really believe that. Because in a general election, it's going to be a blowout for Labour. Nevertheless, this mayoral election, in which personalities do have a place, it's tight. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, is the mayoral polling overstating the proportion of people who are saying, proportion of people who focus on the personality more than they do the party? I don't know. But it's something to consider here. The mayoral polling is personality-based. It prompts for the candidate names, and you have a tight fight. But when you look at party support in the seats that make up the West Midlands county, it's 25% Conservative, 54% Labour. And another thing to bear in mind as well, sorry, one thing I'm beginning to notice as well is in the West Midlands and the Tees Valley, very tight fights. West Midlands, Labour 41, Labour 39, Con 41. And you see the enthusiasm amongst the Tory base is greater than amongst the Labour base, which is a bit surprising. Sorry, it's astounding. It's not what you expect to see in a year in which the Tory base is so depressed, so apathetic, so unwilling to come out. Is the power of personality that strong? I don't know. I'm not sure, but that's what the polling is showing. It's just that I doubt it. I really do doubt it. Nevertheless, I could be absolutely proven wrong. Tees Valley as well. Look at that. You have 65% of Tory 2019 voters sure that they're going to come out for the Conservative candidate. Meanwhile, you have 59% of Labour 29 voters sure they're going to come out for the Labour candidate. What is going on there? That is not normal. That is not what any of us, I suppose, are expecting. It's very little enthusiasm from the Labour base for the local Labour candidates. Is it because the popular personalities are skewing these polls? Or is it because the popular personalities are, well, proving these polls wrong. Is that a word? Proving these polls wrong? Not proving these polls wrong. Validating these polls. I'm not sure. But yeah. Anyway, so that is something to think about for the night as it unfolds when you look at the mayoral results. If you see Conservative holds in the West Midlands and the Tees Valley, you can attribute that to a very successful personality. Personality politics in mayoral fights winning the day, even for the, downtrodden Conservative brand. Because again, I reiterate this, 25% Conservative in the West Midlands. It goes up to 40% when you put Andy Street on the ballot paper. That's not what you expect, is it? What else? So, we'll be having council election results first of all as the night progresses, and the forecast from me is almost 500 Conservative seat losses to 273 Labour gains, 129 Lib Dem gains, and 52 Green gains. In ward terms, it's not unreasonable to think that the Conservatives and the Lib Dems will be tying for the number of wards won, number of council areas won. Anyway, so it's going to be very fun tonight. We have a Labour Party that is 20 points ahead on party vote, 11 points ahead on the economy, the most precise metric, I suppose, for competence and capacity. And then you have Keir Starmer's lead over Rishi Sunak at 11 points and Keir Starmer's own net approval at 2 points. Labour's lead is not just 20 points, it's quite varied. It's a bit diverse. It's not all 20 points. But it's commanding. It's absolutely commanding. So, something to have a think about there. I'm very conscious that we may be due some council seat results very, very soon, and I need to pay attention to those, and I need to get to work, okay? Because the thing about Britain Elects is we cover council results as we get them, okay? And I want to be the first there for you. Have we just got a result now? Nope, no. The results are coming in very soon. We don't know when. If you want to keep in touch when they do, follow Britain Elects on Twitter. Twitter.com/Britain Elects. It's not X for me. Twitter.com/Britain Elects. I am the co-founder of Britain Elects. I founded it, set it up alongside my late best friend Lily Jane Summers in 2013. We've been running it ever since, and it's been it was just a little hobby of mine. Best decision I ever made, actually, because I love this stuff. I love data. I love looking at this country in a lot more granular way that helps you understand why people think the way they think. I want to do more of it. I very much enjoy it. Council results will be coming in as soon as we get them. Keep an eye on the Britain Elects feed. Keep an eye on our ward-by-ward results map when that happens. There are no results yet, so you don't expect to see anything. Blackpool South, the by-election in the Houses of Parliament, is probably due between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. later tonight. The mayoral results, don't expect any at all. Not expecting any at all until, 11 a.m., 12 p.m. I think that'll be the North East as well. So we'll see if Jamie Driscoll has failed or not, or rather managed to cling on with his more leftist agenda in around about 12 hours' time. So yeah, you had so much respect for me until I used the word granular. I'm sorry. Yeah, anyway, if it helps, I didn't even graduate university, so I feel very much out of my depth all the time. Right, so 500 seat losses for the Conservatives. And apparently, according to Stuart Ellis and the Tories, have been talking up 600 plus losses. Well, yeah, they think they're going to lose 4,000 seats as well. So, that's expectations game. That's it is. Look at what the forecasters say. Look at what we who model elections say. And the expectation is Conservative seat losses around about 400 to 500. All right. Anyway, I think that concludes it. My name has been Ben Walker. And I think I'm going to leave you to it for tonight. Will I stream again? I'll probably stream in the morning before I go to bed. I'll be probably going to bed at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Get a few hours kip and see what happens here. But it depends what happens, to be honest with you. But yeah. This is the last major test for the governing and opposition parties before the general election. There are no excuses now for Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party. He needs to show some pretty substantial gains in the so-called Red Wall and so-called Blue Wall of England. And there are rumours to suggest it might be happening, but we need to be seeing those gains in Grimsby. We need to be seeing those games in the Rother Valley. And we haven't last year. We didn't last year, and we didn't the year before. We need to see a bit more than that. So, there we are. Thank you very much for watching. I've just seen the numbers. 24,000 of you watched it on Twitter, and 451 of you watched it on YouTube. Thank you very much indeed. But yeah, I'll be back. Be sure to follow us on twitter.com/BritainElects if you want to follow me personally. I am BNH Walker on Twitter, Benjamin Neil Hyde Walker. My parents decided to add a lot of surnames. Well, middle names, but there we go. So, I think that concludes it. If you have any questions, ask them at the next stream. I'm going to be very busy tonight, focusing on the results. But yes, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right? Bye-bye.